So let's get started. I wanted to just, I'll just, briefly introduce you. Lori is one of our close partners with Candela. She is the founder of Medical Marketing Wiz. We've used her on a webinar previous last month, I think it was, and
Yep.
people really, really enjoyed learning all of the different asset value you gave. You do record these, so we do know that some people have some patience that they can't see it right now. But with that, I'll let you get started.
Okay, awesome. Well, everybody can hear me okay, first and foremost. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, so thank you so much, April, for inviting me. I absolutely love doing this stuff. If I could do this all day, that's all I would do. I think the biggest thing is not, having something be a sales pitch, really giving you guys some ideas and strategies as you think about today. We're going to talk about social media, but like April said, I'm going to be coming to the event in Brooklyn. We're going to talk about a lot of other things too, like events and press releases and podcasting and webinars and all those sorts of things that you can do to really have a comprehensive strategy. So today, what I wanted to go over and what April and David asked me to talk about is specifically about social media management. If you're going to bring somebody in-house to do your social media, what are their actual responsibilities? What are the expectations that you should have for that person? And then I also want to touch a little bit on ads as well, because I think sometimes people don't realize that a social media manager and a social media ads person may not actually be the same person. And so when do you kind of decide to keep stuff in house? When do you decide to outsource those sorts of things? And so that's kind of what we're going to go over today. And then I'll show you guys an example of some accounts that I think are doing really, really awesome on social media. So I won't bore you with too much about my bio and background. April kind of touched on it. We are one of the partners for Candela. My previous life, I was in a role very much like April in medical device sales. I've spent time in the operating room as well as in physician offices. So I feel like over a 15, 20-year period, I've seen kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've seen the people that are really killing it and the people that continue to be on the struggle bus. And that's really kind of our mission here, is to not just, get a bunch of agency clients, but, partner with folks like April and Candela on a bigger level. Whether you guys decide to work with us or not is really not the point. It's to help more of you guys just be successful, because I'm a business owner too. I've had to learn a lot of these strategies myself on how to grow our agency. And so that's what I want to go over today. So we'll touch just on what are the actual goals of social media marketing, because I think that sometimes people misunderstand what the actual goal of it is. We'll talk about branding, how you can elevate your brand and really be omnipresent through social media management. We're going to talk about the role of a social media manager and what that person actually should be responsible for. We'll talk a little bit about ads, and then we'll just touch on just some questions you can ask yourself. Is it time for me to outsource, or is this something that we can do in-house? And then I always like to have a little ethical bribe at the end. Again, I'm going to pack a lot in about 20, 25 minutes or so. But if you stick with me to the end, I've got a couple of freebies for you guys. So first thing, just, any of these things may or may not resonate with you, but a lot of times I'll hear this from people. Like, in fact, I would say social media is probably the number one reason that people book strategy calls with us to talk about marketing, because social media is something that is very time consuming. And it also sometimes gets frustrating because people don't feel like it's actually generating new appointments. And so a lot of times it's like, hey, I know I need to be doing this, but I'm not actually sure how to turn all these efforts into patients. Or you may have a front desk person or an office manager that's doing or supposed to be in charge of social media, but they're also trying to do all the rest of their jobs. And so it kind of becomes what I like to call kind of sort of marketing. So you kind of sort of are doing it, but you don't really have the time to actually dedicate and strategize and do it correctly. You may also have an agency. I mean, this is the other thing I deal with, people that have PTSD of dealing with marketing agencies that give them these big, big promises. and don't actually produce results. Or you'll be looking up kind of like, oh my gosh, like I see all these, competitors in my area, or maybe you have like some big franchises in your area that are, pouring hundreds of thousands of dollars into ads. And it's like, I just don't think I can compete with that. Or you might just have a lot of cooks in the kitchen. So you got like a web person that's telling you to do one thing and an SEO person that's telling you to do something else. And then you've got social media that you're trying to figure out. So today we're going to try to unpack some of this stuff and ease the anxiety and give you guys some strategies to move forward. The main thing that I think is important to remember is, what is the actual goal of having social media presence? The goal is to be social, to produce content that your users and your followers are actually going to engage with. They're going to watch a video, they're going to comment, they're going to share, they're going to save your post, they're going to get to know you. And ultimately, if you can get these people to share your content, it opens up a whole new world for you, because you get access to their friends lists, their stories, without actually having to pay for it. So I think it's important to kind of keep that in mind. And when you look at, this is just a quick case study that I pulled up, that I did a 60-day before and a 60-day after. And Instagram and Facebook are going to be a little bit different in terms of what you can actually measure. So on Instagram, you're looking at your overall impressions. So in this scenario, some of the stuff I'm going to go over today took this particular office from 4,500 impressions in a 60-day period to 14,000. They reached 21,000 before, now they're reaching 73,000. They got 17 website clicks, now they got 68. This was all without spending 1 cent on ads, right? Same thing with Facebook. You'll notice that this is organic. This does not say new patients, right? Like, yes, we got more website clicks, but you're not going to necessarily know the conversions of those unless you actually look at your website analytics or your actually booking software and how many actually are converting. So the first thing I want to touch on is just the social aspect of social media, and really taking an honest look at what you're doing right now. And are you actually producing content that people are engaging with? Do people go to your page and actually feel like, you know what? I kind of like these people. Like, I like what sort of results they've gotten. I can see that they're investing in really great technology like Gentle Max Pro and PicoWay and Nautilus and these devices that are considered kind of the gold standard when it comes to aesthetics. And so the main thing that I always like to remind people is that your content needs to be inspirational and educational, and 80% of it needs to be just helpful. 20% of it can be promotion. Video content is going to have a much higher engagement than photo content. And this bottom one, I cannot say loud enough, is that color coding your content in these grid patterns does not produce one patient. So it's something that I think people get obsessed with, like, oh my gosh, especially with Instagram, they've got to make it the specific color code and I want my logo on every single picture. It's not something that's actually going to generate patients that way. So I would not spend a tremendous amount of time doing it. When I looked at, a couple of accounts that I felt like were really, really killing it with social media, I would encourage you guys to follow this one here. It's called Skin Spirit. I'll actually pull theirs up. I think I got it over here. But you'll notice they've got a lot of really, really good content that's very personalized, right? Like, they're talking about a Meet the Experts. They're highlighting the fact that they spoke at this summit. They're talking about reviews and things that they have. It's, they're giving away, like, hey, a glow guide. They're giving away freebies. These are all things that I think are really good content. And if I go to this, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, like I can sort of feel like I know who these people are. This honestly is not something you can outsource. This is something that really does need to be done in the office, right? Like, having somebody in the office that can take some of those videos, add, a day in the life sort of stories. It is very difficult to outsource. I can guarantee you this office probably has an in-house social media manager. And you'll see their content is a mix of educational content, testimonials, promotions, behind the scenes. as well as encouraging their clients to share content, right? So it's that balanced mix of content to help people be engaged. And ultimately, you want them to be motivated to book an appointment. So I do want to just touch on a few ideas for you guys on some things that you could think about over the next like 90 days of quick little ideas for specifically for Instagram. So any sort of like look behind the scenes, intro of your staff or team, highlighting your events, demos, you buy a new aesthetic laser from April and she comes in and the team comes in and does your demo day or your training day. Take pictures and videos when you guys are doing that. TikTok boomerang, slow-mo videos, office tours, action shots, and then of course, like any sort of inspirational quotes. Those are things that tend to get a lot of saves. The other thing is about engagement is you cannot expect people to engage with you if you are not engaging with others. And I'll hear that a lot, like, oh my gosh, I'm putting all this time into this and nobody's liking my content. And then I say, well, how many people's content are you going in and actually engaging with? So one of the things that you can do real easily is just start simple, right? Go into your Instagram, look up people that refer to you. Maybe it's a salon owner, maybe it's a physician, maybe it's a local business owner. Follow them, right? And then follow other local businesses. So like photographers, real estate agents, salon owners, personal trainers. Those are all people that are serving the same sort of people that you want to bring into your business. Also, if you're going to deal with influencers, the main thing with that, and I could probably do a whole talk just on influencers, but a mistake that I see is that people will partner with an influencer that doesn't have a local audience. It doesn't really matter if this person has 200,000 followers, if 150,000 of them or 190,000 of them are not local to you. That isn't necessarily going to produce new patients. So I'll always say, like, look up somebody that's like a local celebrity. That person is going to tend to have more local audience. So those are people that you can engage with, comment, reach out to collaborate with. You can also look up your competitors and you can click on their followers and you can follow their followers. So those are people that are following your competitors. You start following them, they get a notification. Now they start following you back. Liking other people's posts, commenting on other people's posts. Again, we have to be engaging with others to expect people to engage with us. Facebook is a little bit different. I do think in the aesthetic space, Instagram obviously is a much, much more important platform, but don't forget Facebook because this is something, it doesn't cost you any extra to post on Facebook. This is also something where you can share a little bit more content on it in terms of like long form copy. You can include links and things like that. And this is something really powerful is Facebook groups. So join, like, for example, I moved to a town about 6-7 years ago. And when we moved here, I joined the local community Facebook group that had like 20 or 30,000 people in it. You will constantly see people in there saying, hey, I need to find some place for Botox. Who do people recommend? And so being in those Facebook groups can add a lot of value. You can post, maybe you have a ladies' night out or an event or something that you have going up on. I think in this, at least as of 2024 or 2025, Facebook groups is probably the biggest thing that you can do on Facebook. And then again, we're going to talk a little bit about running ads. One of the things that you can do is you can upload your existing client list to Meta. It will find those people and then you can target them. You can also run a lookalike audience that is going to target people that are like the people that already come in and see you for your services. So that's, again, something really powerful that you can do on both Facebook and Instagram. Again, at the end of the day, it's just about getting engagement. The more stuff that you're in, the more people are going to comment, share, like. That's really the key to success. I did want to touch real quick, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this, is just because obviously I'm talking a lot about Instagram and Facebook. What about the others? YouTube, I think it is a good idea to have a YouTube channel because YouTube is owned by Google. And so from a search engine optimization standpoint, any sort of videos that you do, just adding them to YouTube is going to help you. Even if you don't grow a huge YouTube following, it helps you with SEO. The other thing is TikTok. TikTok, obviously it's fun. It's up and coming, it's growing, and every demographic is starting to get on TikTok. At this point in time right now, though, it is hard to grow a local audience on TikTok. So I think it's fine, again, for branding awareness, making sure that you have your channel owned. But I wouldn't expect a ton of clients or patients out of TikTok as of right now. LinkedIn, great for collaborating with partnerships, B2B stuff. X, again, not a lot of people are looking for medical aesthetic services on X. I think it's fine to post on it, but I wouldn't put a ton of time into it. I promised at the beginning to touch on social media content manager versus somebody that's running ads. And I think this is very important to understand the difference. So I'm actually going to start on the right side here first. This would be somebody that you could hire an agency like us to do your social media management. You could also do this in-house. This person is responsible for creating content, scheduling the posts, and making sure that you have consistent content. So you're not just posting a couple times a month, that you have consistency. This person also would be engaging with your followers. So they're monitoring the comments, they're responding to comments, they're looking at DMs, they're making sure that those are being responded to in a timely manner. They're also just staying up to date on what's going on in social media, following, other offices, getting ideas, and then developing campaigns that align with your brand, right? You'll notice this is not really client acquisition. It's mostly branding and awareness. And I think that this is something important because you hate to beat up your social media manager because they're putting a lot of time and energy into this branding and awareness. It also does help your search engine optimization to have somebody consistently posting, but it takes 18 to 24 months for organic social media content to produce one new client. So I think if you have realistic expectations of what this person's role actually is, it's going to help really just help you to be successful and understand the right person for the right role. The ads manager, this is somebody that's managing the paid advertising on Meta in this example. So they're going to actually be creating the targeted ads, the copy, the landing page, the funnels. They're deciding on your target audience. So what age, what location, what income level, what education level, what are the things that these people like? I always say target people that have a Peloton bike, like anybody that pays $2,000 for a Peloton bike and pays $50 a month for streaming is somebody that will pay for wellness related services. They optimize the ad spend. They're watching that every single day. They're making sure that you're not throwing money out the window, that your ads are actually converting. The other thing is that they're doing retargeting. So those ads that kind of follow you all around the internet, or if you clicked on an ad and you didn't convert, they're coming up with that retargeting and they're testing copy. What works in New York isn't necessarily going to work in Chicago or in California. So they need to be testing what image works the best, what copy works the best, what call to action works the best. This is literally a full-time job, you guys, managing these ads. And it is very difficult to have your in-house social media manager also being responsible for the running of the ads. The other thing, and I was glad April asked me this question when we were talking about what to go over, is what is your role? Even if you hire somebody to do this stuff for you, this is not a set it and forget it. You do still need to be involved and to be providing content and guidance for whether it's a social media manager or an ads manager. They need to know your branding, right? They need to know your aesthetic preferences. Like what sort of photos do you like? What sort of brand are you trying to portray? You need to be telling them what's going on, what's coming up. What are the promotions? And you don't want to give them just 2 days notice for this, right? This is something you want to be thinking about and communicating on your monthly meeting with them. And you want to be responsive to them. Your responsibility is to get back to them if they have questions or they need something. And then obviously also allocating a budget, right? This is something that, the ads manager can give you a recommended budget, but at the end of the day, like, you do need to have a budget for ads if you're going to be able to compete on these platforms. So I want to touch just on the goal of the manager, the social media manager. So the person that's just doing the content, what are you actually trying to achieve with this person? It's, like I said, branding, engaging with your audience, making sure that you are getting engagement. You're not just, because that's really the biggest thing. If you put a post up and nobody's liking or commenting or doing anything with it, the algorithm basically says, oh, this is boring. They're just not even going to show your content to anybody. And then that's wasted time and money. They should be showcasing all of the services that you guys offer in a way that's going to attract potential clients or patients. And they also are responsible for maintaining consistency with your online presence. And what do you expect of them as the outcome of this? Well, they should be able to show you a chart like what I showed you at the beginning. Like, have you increased your engagement? Have you gotten more followers? Do you feel like you're improving your overall brand recognition? Are you nurturing your leads? Because this is a big part of nurturing, is growing your followers. They start seeing your stuff. Now more people are booking appointments. And this is a little hidden thing that you should track your SEO, your search engine optimization, because if your social media manager is doing these things, you should see improved search engine optimization, because Google does track every single thing that you're posting on social. So it does kind of give you that little added benefit of improving your overall search engine ranking. Talking about ads and why you really need to be running some sort of ads. It unfortunately, this has become a pay to play. If you're just posting, right, and you're paying somebody to be your social media manager, and even if you're creating great content, organically, your posts only reach about 1.4% of your audience. So if you've got 1,000 people on your Instagram page, only about 1.4% of those people are going to see what you're posting. And that really kind of stinks, to be honest. And that's just Mark Zuckerberg's algorithm. Now, they really make their money by getting you to spend money on ads. So when you put some money behind an ad, now your engagement goes up to about 27%. The average conversion rate of healthcare or aesthetic related meta ads is about 11%. So this is kind of a national average. So as you think about like how many of my ad dollars should actually turn into book appointments, your conversion rate, this is a target that you should be trying to reach. Why doing this on your own is tough, right? First of all, if you have somebody that doesn't really know how to run ads, you might as well drive down the window with a bunch of money in your car and just let the money fly out the window, because Instagram and Facebook, they're not your friend in terms of helping you actually get your message in front of the right people. And that's something that I'll see sometimes. Again, like, I've got a social media ads manager and she's going to run ads, but she doesn't really have experience doing it. And then you're spending a bunch of money and it doesn't turn into actual appointments. A lot of times I'll see this too. They're boosting posts and they don't know how to actually target. They're just boosting like to a zip code. And then you get people that are not your ideal clients at all on your list or as followers. In general, when it comes to ads, professionals can build higher converting campaigns because they're in touch with those algorithm changes. They know how to do the landing pages. They know how to do the A/B testing. So at the end of the day, if it was me and I had to choose, do I pay for a social media manager or do I pay for an ads manager? I would probably pick ads manager, because that's something that is a little bit more difficult to outsource. I wanted to show you guys a little trick, and this is actually kind of fun. I do this on marketing analysis calls. There's something called the Meta Ads Library. And this is something where you can literally look up any of your competitors' ads and see what ads they're running to your zip codes. So you can just Google Meta Ads Library. It'll take you to this page, and you could type in, like, let's just say Ideal Image, right? They're a chain. So you can see Ideal Image has 210 ads running right now on social media. Now this is across the whole entire country, but just for the sake of example, you can see what sort of ads they're running, right? So they got like a Halloween laser hair removal sale that they've got going on. They've got some specials that they're doing on Botox. And what's cool is, like, let's say we just want to look at where they're sending this traffic to. So they're sending this traffic to this landing page. People are opting in to get this 85% off special that they're running. And you can see, like, they've got credibility symbols, all of that. So they're sending people to a landing page. So this can give you some ideas. Obviously, if Ideal Image is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on this ad, it's probably a pretty darn good ad. And you can get some ideas. You can see, like, what your competitors are doing on social media. So that's just kind of a fun, if you want to do a little behind the scenes stalking, you can sort of figure out what is going on in your area. The outcome of ads that you're trying to reach, obviously you should be able to track, is my website traffic going up? I had a call actually yesterday, April, with one of the offices that you had me talk to. I think they're thinking about getting a peak away in a couple months. And we were talking specifically about this. And their ads company that they were working with is they're not sending the traffic to a landing page. They're sending it just to the homepage of their website. So we did a search and we looked up their website traffic and we compared September versus August. They actually had less website traffic with this company than they did before they were running ads. So that would tell you that there's something going on with this ad that isn't working, right? So you should see more website traffic. You should see an increase in leads. You should see more ROI from your efforts. You should see your audience. When you look up the demographics, you should see they're local. You should see that they're in the age range of the people that you want following you. And ultimately, you should see more bookings and conversions at the end of the day. This is, again, is just an example of a peak away ad. This is a 7-day ad that brought in 21 leads. Again, this is with a minimal ad spend, 15, 20 bucks a day ad spend. So you don't need to spend a crazy amount of money on ads, but it is something that can really bring in more conversions. So when you sort of think about when is it time to outsource this, I think there's a lot of different questions you have to ask yourself. Number one, does your staff have the experience to run ads? If the answer is no, maybe you just outsource the ads piece. If you're putting in hours and hours and hours of work on this, because this can be a rabbit hole with, like, picking the perfect graphic, picking the perfect copy. Thankfully, ChatGPT can help everybody with that nowadays, but it's still, at the end of the day, time consuming. If you're not seeing ROI with tons of effort, that might be time to think about it. If you're not really getting on there as consistently as that it should be, or you feel like you just can't keep up with what's going on, or ultimately it's taking time away from you doing your job, because your job is to provide excellent patient care and great results. That's your job. So if it's taken time away from you doing that, you're not actually saving money by trying to do it yourself. So, or if you feel like you're just winging it, these are all just ways to kind of think about, and everybody's going to be, answering a different question to that, or different answer to that question. One of the things that we will do, and I've done this for multiple of April's current customers, as well as people that are maybe thinking about getting into this space, I'm happy to do a strategy call with you. Not only will we look at your social media, we can look up your competitors' ads, we can take a look at your website traffic, really everything you're doing, like how many people are on your email list. Because if your email list has 3,000 people, you don't have a leads problem at all. You might just have a nurturing problem. So we can sort of talk about all of those things. You get a 25-page marketing report that will give you tons of tips and tricks and everything in it. And then in addition to that, we have actually several books on Amazon, but one of them is called Anti-Aging and Longevity Marketing. Inside this book has an entire chapter on how to run ads. It also has like just social media strategies for all of the different platforms, including YouTube, TikTok, all of those sorts of things. So I can get every single person a copy. If you guys come to the event in Brooklyn that April has going on in a couple weeks, I will bring copies of this for every single person that's there. So if for some reason you can't make it, let April know. We'll get one in the mail for you. But we'll save you about $20 on Amazon by getting that to you guys. And then in addition to that, anybody that is on this that wants to try out our social media scheduler, this is going to be perfect for people that are doing their own in-house social media. We have a platform called the Dr. Social Wiz that will connect Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, X, and it will also post on your Google business profile. It integrates with Canva. It has AI capabilities. It does stories, reels. You can post videos. You can pre-schedule all of your content on here. And then there is a lot of additional stock content. So not only is all the Candela stuff in there, but also like Botox and cool sculpting and wellness related content. There's over 5,000 posts that are already in there that you can leverage. So if you're just kind of like, I know I need to post, I'm not sure what to post today, you can leverage some of the stock content that we have as well. This is something, again, happy to meet with any of you guys. If you want to try it out for free for 30 days, no strings attached, would be completely happy to give you guys access to that. And it can be a big time saver. So I will pause here. Let's see. Okay, good. I'm doing well. I'm pretty good on time. Any questions at all? I think there's maybe one in there. Doesn't it look odd to have way more accounts that you follow versus having followers? I don't know that people are really looking at that right at the beginning. I mean, if you only have 5 followers and you're following 500 accounts, that might be a little bit weird. In that case, you might want to there are some really low cost ads that you can run just to get likes. But again, I would not spend a lot of time doing that. I also would not buy followers, because buying followers, you're sort of faking that you have a following, but at the end of the day, those people aren't necessarily going to turn into clients. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. One of the things that you can do, so just if we go back to this one as an example, if we click following, like let's just pretend this is a competitor of yours, this is where you can go in and look and you can like follow some of their followers. So you can look up those people. The other thing that you can do is you could type in like hashtag Brooklyn moms. Brooklyn mom. So you can go here and you can sort of look at people that are using those hashtags. And then you can, I mean, you don't want, whatever this lady's got, she's got 2,500 views of this, looks like a breast pump video. But you could look up like what her posts are all about. So you kind of want to look for like people that have a lot of comments on their posts, and then you can follow their like, I don't know, this lady looks like the one lady's got the most. You can follow their followers as well. So like just look up, you can also just follow that hashtag as an example. So those are just some things that you guys can do kind of just to grow your following. I think the biggest thing to get the followers though, just to answer your question, would be to go in and start engaging with some people's content, because they get a notification that you are commenting and then you'll get them to follow you back.
What do you think about this? You start a social media channel, and you're kind of like what do I post? What do I do? What do you find gets the most attraction? Is it introducing your staff? Is it showing the treatments live that you're doing? Is it just discussing what what tools you have in the office? What are patients really getting attracted to drive a decision to pick you?
All of those things. I think you gave great examples of all of these things that are personal to you. So again, if I kind of go back to these sorts of things, it's really these things. The other thing that will get a lot of engagement is going to be posts that highlight how you're different. So if you won an award, let's say you won Best of Long Island award, that post will get a lot of comments because people are saying congratulations. And even honestly, I mean, it sounds silly, but highlighting like team member birthdays, because people will comment happy birthday or happy work anniversary. And what you're ultimately trying to do is, if you can get a post to get a lot of comments, the algorithm will reward your next post. So if you get it something that's like, let's say, like you said, like show off your event, it's kind of like a FOMO, like, hey, here's all the things that we did at our event, and people are commenting on it, then if you're posting your next month's specials the next day, that post will show up in the news feed more because of what happened the day before. So you sort of have to think about it like that. Like, what are things that are going to get a lot of comments? I'll tell you, like for myself specifically, so I go to a functional medicine doctor for hormones, and I did a video like for my doctor, actually to like my own friends, about like how much better I feel now that I'm going to this doctor that specializes in hormones and aesthetics. And I got 28 friends to message me about who do I go to, and I referred all of them to this doctor. So like patient testimonials and getting them to share their story, especially if they can share it on their own profile, that opens up a whole new world. But I think at the end of the day, like all of those things that you just said, April, like that's really it. It's not downloading the content out of the Candela marketing portal and putting it on your page. Like it's not going to get a lot of comments.
And I think that it's a lot of people think that they're putting in effort, and sometimes, I'll look at people, their Instagrams who are, customers of mine, and they're like, well, what do you think? And a lot of times people think they're putting in 100% of the work, right? So we got this video that's kind of streaming, and it's in a reel, and you see, the device, and then you see a little bit of the procedure, and then you see what they look like after the procedure, but
Yeah.
it doesn't say what it does. There's no
Right.
hashtag of it. There's no description. It's kind of just something to entertain the eyes. But what happens is that people get, sidetracked and like, okay, swipe up and moved on.
Right.
And so I think
Yeah.
that putting in 100% of the time I love when plastic surgeons have that journey, right? The patient before the
Yes.
procedure, then they're like showing, side profiles, and they go to the procedure, then they're talking about, what the experience is like after, what medicines they're on, how they feel, and then they're going through the recovery phase. And it really takes the journey and takes you through the whole entire procedure
Yes.
to make you feel like, okay, well, maybe I could do this too.
Yeah. On that note, specifically like with Nautilus, let's just say, right? Like somebody that got their treatment done, or Matrix, right? Like people understanding like, okay, day 1, you're going to look like this. Day 2, you're going to look like this. Day 5, you're going to look like this. And then day 7, you're going to look like this. That is something that really, really resonates with people because they can see like themselves in that journey, but you're also setting expectations. Like you're not going to get this done and look beautiful the next day. Like you might look a little scary for a couple days, but I can guarantee you afterwards, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I took 15 years off of my face,
Right. And
with getting that done.
it's
Yeah.
important that before they even show that, to say, maybe take them through why you're there. Like, what is that consultation process? I came in maybe for acne scars, or I came in because I'm insecure about this pigmentation. So well, a lot of times people aren't looking at what laser you're using, because that's what the company wants to showcase, right? Like
Right.
as a practice, I want to showcase the Nautilus. I want people to come in and book this procedure, but the patient doesn't understand that product. They got to understand the indication, because that's what they're hashtagging: acne scar removal, hyperpigmentation, melasma, all of those. So you need to make sure that when you're taking the content, you start from the indication, you start from the consultation, because that's what the patient understands. Then they're going to watch the journey.
Yep. And this is where I think, again, like this is not something that you can expect somebody in the office to be able to think through and strategize about while they're answering phones or while they're treating patients and doing, they're trying to be an esthetician and then they're trying to do that too. Like it's very difficult because it is almost like you almost have to write out exactly what you said, April. Like you have to be able to think through that in a quiet, setting where you can really strategize, is what I'm doing worth me putting the time and effort to put that story together. And so I think that that's where, when you think about, do I need to have somebody that's in charge of this? A lot of the trend is yes. Like you think about like these colleges now, like they have whole degrees in social media management now, that like a 4-year degree in learning these sort of things, because it isn't something that you can just kind of expect somebody to do in between everything else they have going on in the office.
Right, and it's so important to put that budget together so that maybe if you're just starting now, you can't necessarily allocate, too many funds. So, you know, you have to do the right research and look at the companies like what you put together, and you take the initiative to, go through and figure out exactly what they need. But to get started, they can, put together just a calendar, and that way on Mondays they post acne scars, Tuesday they post melasma, Wednesday they put together, patient testimonial day. But just to put something together so that it's not so overwhelming for the front desk in the
Yeah.
beginning until they get patients, then they build a budget, then they can allocate it to professionals. And then you're just in charge, or that manager or whoever, of just saying, okay, maybe I'm gonna, spend 15 minutes in the morning just kind of taking the video of when, if it's consented for, the customer walks to the front door, goes into the room. I could take some before and after pictures and use them. But definitely, it all comes full circle to putting 100% into your content. And if you can't afford it in the startup phase, to definitely budget for it, because it's a game changer when you have a competitor like New York, where there's so many different
Yeah.
people and you need to stand out, but you just missed that one context in that video where that patient was really interested to see that, but they didn't know it was for them.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing too is I think that when you think about people choosing you, right? Like initially, and we'll talk about this when I'm at the event in Brooklyn, but step one of marketing is getting discovered. And a lot of times that might be through Google, right? People are just searching for best medical spa near me, right? And then they're going to find 2 or 3 places. And then they're going to go to your website and they're going to look at your social media. So that social media could be the difference maker between you being chosen and them deciding to go to like one of these big chain places. So it is part of the research phase too. And I know like one of the girls that works for me, she finally got Botox after like 2 years of thinking about it. I was kind of laughing, like, how are you in this space and you haven't even got Botox yet? But she finally did. And I asked her, like, how did you decide where you were going to go? And she's like, well, first I went to Google, and then I went to their websites. And then ultimately, how I chose the place I wanted to go was their Instagram. I felt like they helped me, they still made people look natural. Like I liked the results if you're not showing that sort of stuff, again, you could be spending money on these other aspects of marketing and you're like, why is this not working? And it really could be this piece of the puzzle too. So
Lastly, because we don't want to take everyone's time today, could you just explain a little bit about, maybe we have some current businesses right here and they're like, I don't know if I really need this, or if my Instagram has enough to be utilizing my Instagram, or how do I better focus on the people in my Instagram? There are reports that can be generated through Instagram to kind of tell them where they're at, perhaps.
Yep, yep. So, and that's actually quite easy to do. So on Instagram, you have to do this part on your phone, is actually looking at your insights. You want to look at your insights, and you also, because first of all, you need to know, like, are your followers actually even local? Who's engaging with you? That sort of stuff. And then in the ads manager, the Meta ads manager, that's where your ad metrics are going to be. So I think the first step, honestly, April, is to just kind of, and again, I'm happy to do this. Like there's no charge, there's no catch, a catch to doing it. We can do an analysis of your social media and give you some recommendations, because sometimes I'll tell people you don't need to run ads. You have a good audience. You need to just engage your audience. You need better content. Whereas somebody else, it's like, man, you're putting out great content, but you have no audience. Like you need to put some money behind ads to actually get an audience. So I think it kind of depends on where they're starting from. And that's always something we can do on a like a one-on-one call too.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I mean, I appreciate you. I definitely love working with you. I think you've been so valuable. You give so much information freely, and that's so appreciative because people want to be successful. So that analysis has been extremely helpful. But I really appreciate your time. And if there's any other questions, feel free to just ask us now. If not,
And
we
then I'll
can.
be at the meeting too. So, and then we'll send this replay out as well. So, you guys will have it. Cool. All
Perfect. Well,
right.
thank you so much, Lori. I
Yes.
appreciate
Thank
you.
you. I'll get the video back to you here in just a couple hours.
Thanks so much. I'll talk to you
All right.
soon.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.